Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today I will be talking about Season 4, Episode 14, The Morning After, starring Robert Alda, Jeanette, Nolan, and Dorothy Provine. This episode here, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought The Morning After was a really solid episode. I wouldn't quite call it a series classic, and that's because I thought the ending could have hit a little harder, but this is a very well-acted and fast-paced episode. So, it starts out with the intro with Alfred Hitchcock reading some letters. He calls them fan mail at one point, and it was pretty amusing, and it leads us into this episode. So we start out with these two people, Ben and Sharon, and they're talking in a car. It appears that there's some kind of couple, but there's some kind of tension here. So at this point, Sharon goes in to talk to her mother, and we find out more of the story. It turns out that Ben's married, and Sharon's mother is skeptical of the whole situation. But Sharon continues to stick up for this man, Ben, and says he can't get a divorce because everything is in his wife's name. And Sharon's mom's still not buying it. She just thinks the whole thing is strange, and she's concerned about her daughter at this point. So we go to the next scene, and Mrs. Trotter goes to see Ben at his office. Kind of a bold move in this situation, but kind of just got to go with it. She basically wants Ben to stop seeing Sharon, and at this point I'm already thinking that this Ben isn't the most trustworthy in the world. Robert Alda gives a really good performance here to kind of let you know what's going on. So Ben tells her he plans to marry Sharon, and he tells the woman that it's a little late after a year. They've been seeing each other for a year for her to try and interfere now and ask him to stop seeing her. So at this point, Mrs. Trotter leaves upset, seeing she's not really going to get anywhere with this guy, Ben. So Ben also at this point says that he won't say anything about this meeting, but of course, in the next scene, he runs right to Sharon and tells her, your mother came to see me, and she's meddling in our business, basically, and he's not too happy about it. Sharon does stick up for her mother here. She knows her mother's just concerned. And she's getting now to be a little skeptical of the situation. She feels something might be a little off, but Ben tries to bribe her with a bracelet. He buys her some jewelry, but it still seems like Sharon's a bit unsure, but she seems satisfied when Ben says he wants to go away on a trip with her to Europe, I believe it is. He has a business trip coming up. And Sharon says she can't because it'll hurt her mother and kind of, defy her feelings on this whole situation. So we go to the next scene. There's a lot of scenes and a lot happening in this episode. Mrs. Trotter goes to see Mrs. Nelson, who's Ben's wife, and she says she's Sharon's mother, and immediately the woman looks puzzled, like she has no idea who Sharon is. And I'm thinking what I already suspected, which is that this woman had no idea that Ben and Sharon were seeing each other. So after they talk a while, Mrs. Trotter tells more of the story, and Mrs. Nelson finally kind of puts two and two together. I think she always knew, but was kind of denying it for a while. So this makes both women shocked and upset at this point. So in the next scene, Ben comes home, and his wife confronts him about this. Of course, Ben tries to deny it at first, but his wife doesn't believe him. His wife says she's going to leave him, basically. I'm guessing it's a divorce. They don't specifically say that, but that's what I'm guessing. And because everything is in her name, he'll be left with nothing. So I guess that part was true, that everything was in her name. I think her father left her money or something like that. So up to this point, this episode's really fast-moving and really interesting. This is where things get a little bit strange. So Mrs. Trotter goes to see her daughter. Again, this woman does get around pretty well, especially for this time period. And her daughter doesn't want to hear any more about this, even though her mother's still trying to plead with her. Eventually, Mrs. Trotter figures out that her daughter's not going to listen to this. So at this point, her daughter goes to draw her mother a bath, I think it is, and Ben calls, and this is pretty abrupt. He thinks he's talking to Sharon, but he's really talking to her mother, who picks up, and he says that his wife is dead. I'm guessing that he did something to get rid of her, I guess. And he wants Sharon to provide him with an alibi. He says, you have to tell the police when they come that I was with you all during this time. So the mother plays along and says, okay, and hangs up. But when Sharon comes back out, her mother changes the story and says that Ben didn't want to involve Sharon. And for Sharon to say she had nothing to do with this and she wasn't with him at all. Now, although this ending twist is fitting, it's a pretty good twist, and Ben definitely has this coming. He definitely kind of deserves what's coming to him here. I did think the twist was a bit abrupt and just kind of a bit convenient, like this woman just happened to be there with her daughter and answer the phone. I just thought it could have been a little bit stronger, the twist. But like I said, it fit the episode. It just didn't have quite the impact I wanted, if that makes sense. But I still thought this was a really solid episode, and I'm going to give The Morning After a 4 out of 5. I definitely think this one's worth watching if you like classic Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes with good acting. So 4 out of 5 for The Morning After. As always, thanks for watching.